still have to go. You are going to engage, I'm certain, in a really thoughtful and respectful debate and discussion about who has the potential to be the best fit for Manistee. This is, remember I told you I was going to remind you to take out your profile, because while it is very difficult to not compare candidates against each other, you are also comparing your candidates to a list of qualifiers that before you had any of the pressure of this day, you determined you were looking for. So I want you to try to put in your head those things that you talked about, those things that were challenges for Manistee, those things that were important to engage your community, those things that were important to take you to the next step. I want you to think about the things that you agreed to before you were ever faced with this amount of work, and try to compare those candidates as much as you can, humanly, to that ideal. I also remember I told you that there was a good chance that you were looking for Jesus Christ and he already had a job. So no one is going to fulfill 100% of everything you asked for. So you're looking for your best fit and your best potential to make the difference in Manistee's future. As you go through this debate, you are trying to get to the next stage. And the next stage is the due diligence, the detailed due diligence stage of this process. You cannot get to that stage unless you make a conditional offer of employment. So the first action you're looking to take, Madam Clerk, is you're looking to pass a motion after your debate to direct the MML facilitator to extend on your behalf an offer of conditional employment to one of the candidates. Secondly, you're going to direct MML to finish the background investigation in that due diligence process. We'll do that on your behalf. It's part of your contract. It's a very extensive background investigation, and we'll need the candidate's permission to do that. That's why you get to a conditional offer to one. The second stage of that due diligence process is additional reference review. So you're going to also need to talk tonight about, do you want me to do that for you? Do you want to set up a subcommittee to do that? Do you all want to go visit the community in which your preferred candidate lives? How do you want to handle that additional reference check? And the third thing you're going to do is direct your city attorney to begin discussions, because the due diligence process can happen at the same time as contract discussions are happening. So that saves you a considerable amount of time, particularly because all of these candidates are working and would have to give professional notice. Now remember too that contract negotiations can take any direction, but you don't actually hire anyone until you approve that final contract. So the city attorney will need someone to talk with as they go through that process. Okay, so at the end of this, 3 motions to get started on the next process. Are there any questions that I can answer for you before I get out of your way and leave this back in your hands?
I have one question.
Sure.
You recommended that we prioritize or at least have our first and second candidate identified, or is it just one? Because if the contract negotiations fall apart and, you know, I don't hate to go back to square one and say, okay, let's have this discussion.
That is
again.
a very, very good question. And what I advise councils to do is never put a second candidate in a motion because that creates a public expectation of your primary candidate that you've got this dog in the manger thing going on. So from your discussion, you will probably end up with a second, and you will remember that, and Ben will remember it, and I will remember it, but I just suggest that you don't put it in the motion, that your motion is just for the conditional offer to one candidate. But you can certainly advise that there is a second candidate, or there's a number two.
Second question I would have then is, at the end of our discussion tonight, what if you're not comfortable making the final, recommendation? And motion?
Then it's really important that you determine why you are not, so that we can figure out what will help you do that. If you are not comfortable because two people are equal and you really need to know more specifics from both of them about some specific topics, that might lead you to wanting to have a second interview. If you're not comfortable because you are not sure that they understand a challenge that you might have, you might want to ask them you might develop a scenario and ask them to come back and present a case study to you. But you need to get down to why it is you can't decide, and then we'll figure out what next option you might have. Does that make sense?
Kathy, do we vote on each one? Do we make a straw poll?
You have every right to, in this particular instance, to continue to talk about it, to sort of inventory each other, to get to some consensus. You're certainly required to vote on making a conditional offer. But anything up to that point can be considered kind of a straw polling, kind of a consensus building exercise. But you do not have to vote your way through this.
Thank you.
Good?
Thank you. I guess we've heard a lot today. So before we kind of proceed, I'd just kind of like to decompress a little bit and just get each council member just a brief summary of how they thought the day went, just an overall generalization. Councilmember Cody.
First time I put in something like this, and I tell you what, the candidates we had were all good, very interesting. Listening to them talk, from the meet from last night, I changed my mind on several things, and it's good what's going on. And I think all the candidates can provide vision and seem very active and enthusiastic and can help us move forward. I think we have a tough choice, but I think through our discussion here that we will champion a good city manager.
Councilmember Slinsky.
I think they're all capable of doing the job. My thought process is going to be who can move us forward in a timely manner and make things happen. Solve the city, I guess. I don't know if this is going to be a bad decision.
I think they're thoroughly capable. Every one of them. Was that blown away by a couple? Yes. To my opinion, change it one completely? Yes. To making him one or two. So it was a great thing for me.
Good.
I think we have a good list of candidates. Of course, we had done some due diligence and research on the people before with Kathy's guidance, and I appreciate that. I thought last night being able to meet the candidates and have the public and get some public input was important. I think the format we used today, where we had public interview, with public members present, asking all the people the same questions on the same stage was very informative and enlightening. I found some people who were pretty engaging and enthusiastic, and some others were a little reserved. But I think it's helped provide some separation between the candidates from myself, and I've enjoyed the process.
We have 5 extraordinary candidates to pick from. Last night's event gave us a good window on what they're like out in the public. So my hat's off to Ben getting that done. Kathy for bringing us the candidates. My thought process moved around today as listening to the candidates. I don't see us going wrong either in any candidate picking to be the new leader of Manistee.
My feelings, the process to this point, I think have been extremely well laid out and effective. I think our next step is going to be cumbersome and awkward when we're discussing the candidates' strengths and weaknesses and trying to find collaboration. That's no fault of the process. It's just what we have to do to vet out the right candidate. I do feel a little uneasy about making a formal decision tonight. I feel I'm always better at digesting information for a little bit of time and sleeping on it and getting my mind around something after a long and kind of arduous process for processing information. I don't know if I'm in the right mindset to make the right decision right now, but I think maybe this discussion will help me. But I do think that's going to be somewhat of a challenge for me to now have to go and make a decision. But I do think we have some quality candidates, and if we do land on a particular candidate tonight, I will find support and obviously work with that candidate as best I can moving forward. So.
I agree, we had some really good candidates, and I think Kathy, I think your process that you used really helped. Each one of these candidates brought something, as you said, they're not the complete package I think that we're looking for, but they all have their own special, unique qualities that I think would serve the position well. Going to Councilmember Gutstad's point, it is very overwhelming, a lot of information. Remembering what we heard this morning versus what we heard this afternoon, sometimes the latest one sticks in your mind more than the previous one. So I guess taking a poll of council was there a lot today to digest? Are we at a point where we can maybe even narrow down some of our candidates to a top 2 or 3?
I would support whittling down to your top 2 or 3, like I said, and agree with, I don't like to make any decisions. I wouldn't mind sleeping on it overnight,
Okay.
or at least, let's show the pause and reconvene tomorrow, or do something like that, yes.
How does the rest of the council feel?
I agree with Councilman Cody that if we can pare down to 2 or 3 and take some time to digest what we've heard today, sleep on it, so to speak, and if we can meet tomorrow or Thursday or however the schedule fits, I'm good with that.
I guess, is there any candidate right now that we can come to a consensus that we'd like to take off the list?
I'm going to go in my opinion. I would, I'm going to say Terry, I think Timothy Wolf is a little bit bigger than he can handle, or I don't know, I can't say it that way. He was one of my lower scores. How's that? Is that the way I said?
I concur with that. I thought he did well, but I think Manistee offered might be more of a challenge to him than the other candidates.
I agree that Timothy Wolf would be removed from the want list.
I liked Timothy. I thought he was very intelligent and he was very smart. I think he picked up on qualities very well. I liked his response of looking at plan development. You know, we just don't grow to grow. We have to look at and understand what we want, how we want to grow, and can we support that growth. So I thought he had some very intelligent answers. And yes, he doesn't have the experience, the background that some of the other candidates have, but compared to some of the candidates, I think he spoke very well. He had a good personality. I thought he did very well. I think he could communicate across our community with all sectors. So those aspects I liked about him. The fact that maybe he didn't have all the experiences dealing with all our department heads, but I'm impressed that he was able to develop a community. I mean, he understands what it takes, and I think he's capable of learning. So those aspects I really did like about him.
I would agree with Mayor Kinney. I've got Mr. Wolf on my list. I've got two that kind of pushed off. I go back to what Kathy just said, is that, you know, we're not looking for a perfect fit or someone that checks all the boxes. We're looking for someone who has the potential to fill our city manager role and move us forward as we would like to go. I would say that I have, as my first choice, I have Ryan Heiss. I have Timothy Wolf as second, and Patrick Jordan third. So that's
Those are your orders of top candidates?
my top candidates. Were Ryan Heiss was my first candidate, Timothy Wolf my second, and Patrick Jordan my third.
Mayor, should we just go through each council person for a top three?
Okay. So,
I would just say Patrick
What was your third one?
My first was Ryan Heiss.
What was your third one?
Third one was Patrick Jordan.
Okay, yeah, take a look at what I got here.
it's a lot to digest, to go through. And as I think Kathy said, going back and looking at what are we looking for and what candidates do we think had the strong qualities. And so what do we think are top qualities we're looking for in our next city manager? Is it communication? Is it knowledge of the job?
When we identified that in the last page of the community profile, kind of vets that out. So, you know, it helps us to, and I think you kind of mentioned that, compare the candidate to that profile that we created versus candidate to candidate, and we'll probably be more successful in matching who we think are our top candidates. It's hard not to do some comparisons, so I'm trying to reel us back into Kathy's recommendations. But as I started to do that, and then as you started ranking yours, I went back to the same thing, to that candidate profile. But I felt similar about the top two candidates. I felt Jordan and Patrick did a phenomenal job. They could be in my top two, and I do think Mr. Wolf was my number three. But I compared them back to the ideal candidate profile, not necessarily against each other. And that's kind of how I vetted that out.
So you also liked Patrick.
What's that?
You also.
Oh, yeah, Patrick and then Ryan were my top two candidates. Ryan Heiss and Patrick Jordan were my top two.
They're my top two also.
Anyone else have?
I have Patrick Jordan as my top candidate, Kevin Bookout That's my second, and Brian Heiss, that's my third.
I have Patrick, and I have Kevin, and then I have Tony.
Are you,
I got Graff as my first one because I thought he was very stable and he handled a lot of stuff. My second one, I was very impressed with. I initially had on the bottom, I moved him up to the top and I'm happy either way, but the top was with both. I thought he was very honest. He was very calm at the table. I thought he offered a lot. I had Heiss as my third.
Who was second?
Started writing this stuff down. I can't find it now.
I did like, and these are in no order, I did like Kevin. I did like Tim. And it was hard for me between Ryan and Patrick because they each brought different things. And as far as looking back at the community profile and what we're looking for, I'd have to go with culture.
If I did a straw poll, that would eliminate pretty much Tony Graff. I think there's only one or two that had him, two in their top three. Kevin Bookout, I had two, and were there two for that one as well?
There were four.
Four, okay, I'm sorry.
What I have, if you want me to summarize that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
And no particular 1, 2, or 3 order, and there are a couple of you that only have top 2, by the way. So the votes, the straw poll
Yes.
don't settle out. But 3 of you were willing to keep Mr. Wolf in the top list. 2 of you were willing to keep Mr. Graff in the top list. 5 of you were willing to keep Mr. Heiss. 6 were willing to keep Mr. Jordan in the running, and 4 were willing to keep Mr. Bookout in the running. So right now, the 2 lowest are Wolf and Graff. So this is only a first straw poll. So those of you who are championing Mr. Graff and Mr. Wolf, so can certainly continue talking about that.
Can I have a minute, Mayor?
Yes.
Mr. Cody, if you would come with me, please.
We can get them up to speed on labor negotiations, but can we get them up to speed in being an innovator and, collaborator and community engaging manager? Those are harder skill sets than labor negotiations, in my opinion. But
I agree. Ben, how much assistance do you have in labor negotiation?
At this stage in my career, virtually none. Very early on,
and where are those resources coming from?
you can hire.
We got staff expertise.
Excuse me?
We've got staff expertise and assistance in that.
It's a teachable skill.
So that kind of reiterates my point that labor negotiations is much more of a teachable skill than the innovation and the
Technology.
idea creation and the technology and the ability to go out and engage the community in an aggressive and just new. I mean, like I said, it went to farm markets and went to grocery stores and that's kind of ideal. But, you know, I don't know if that's a teachable skill necessarily. I mean, you might send them to the farm market, but are they going to go and engage and ask the right questions and have value there for the community? So
I did like him being out in the community at lunch and park,
Yeah.
you know, having lunch, seeing what's going on, how everything acts.
Still my favorite story. Assuming his mothers wanted to exercise instead of being home.
but you know,
They close.
the
But looking at that and making, hey, maybe this is what.
that was a
they're
bigger
looking for.
picture issue for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't just, hey, I'm having a secret place to have lunch. I'm actually looking at my community from a resident standpoint. Hey, I'm eating lunch, I'm noticing some connections here. Could we make, that's the kind of stuff that, out of the box thinking that I would love to see a manager have. You know, where are we going out and looking for ways to improve that might be low cost or collaborative solutions or improvements that we weren't even thinking of. So it was me, it was a bigger picture issue that it didn't work out, but he was looking for other
Right, no, I agree.
challenges, so, yeah.
Just humorous. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's you. You and
No, I was 6.
he was a six.
You were 6 as well, okay. And the next area is, you know, any applicant moved to level of candidate will be financially savvy, well-versed in the use of technology as a presentation, communication, and analytical tool. Some of the skills to be illustrated, history in forging regional collaborations and or agreements, proven negotiation skills, and success in developing win-win solutions, ability to incite healthy dialogue among diverse partners and achieve consensus around the best possible solution, experience in building well-working teams, highly developed organizational skills, and familiarity with tribal governments will be considered weight plus. So,
You can start with me, I'll go with an 8 on that one. I think that was a strong area for him. I mean, his technology skills were there, I knew that coming in, but I think he proved through his dialogue with his ability to champion positive relationships. I mean, he's got 5 different communities to work with, 25 different board members to work with, residents, a community of 7,000 different people. I score him an 8.
okay.
I like his technology, what he can bring to the table with technology, working with 5 different communities. I will score him a 7.
Okay.
Go 8 also.
Did you want to add anything?
Well, I think his expertise, his graduate with, I mean, he's very comfortable with technology and the application of that technology, the use of it to promote ideas and dialogue throughout the community.
Did you rank him, sir?
8.
Yes.
Yeah. What about you guys?
I'm a 6. Although,
Any particular thoughts or?
technology is a good thing. I don't know.
I'm gonna score it pretty high, I'm gonna score it 8. I like his negotiating skills, it sounds to me like he can do a lot of negotiating. I think he's been there, done that. His technology is probably top notch.
Probably 6.
I don't think he's afraid to speak. If you don't have any dialogue with anybody, I think he's more than willing to talk about issues and problems. Not take it personally, I would say that, which is a good thing.
I can't imagine reporting to 5 different councils
No.
and keep his job for 13 years.
Yeah.
Did you have a number in mind, sir?
8.
He did, as far as the technology, I think he's rates high up in that area. Regional collaborations, yes, trying to work with that, but again, trying to keep in context, you know, he's working with a very limited area, you know, just basically your streets, you know, the lawns. He's worked like with the contracts, had to negotiate with that. Experience in building well-working teams, I'm not so sure. I think he's, doesn't have, I didn't see a lot of experience in that as far as getting teams together and working with that. Not to say that he doesn't have the ability there, I just didn't get a sense of a lot of experience in that area. I think he does listen to people, but I also think he's got a very, he forms, and he even said that he prefers to give you his recommendation, which is not a bad thing. As opposed to some of the other ones that we've heard where, here's your options. So that sometimes can work against you when you're just, I have an idea, and here's what it is. He's said that, well, if you don't like it, that's okay, which is a good thing. But it makes me wonder how much more open and collaborative he's going to be as far as here's all the solutions, or just coming to the one that he thinks is the best solution. Which is why I kind of rate him more around the 6-7 area. And again, I think it's a lot of it's the inexperience of being new into a position. And so that's why I would rate him more lower than higher.
So what is it, 6 or 7?
6.5?
Yeah. We'll go with the 6.5. All right, the next area, the new city manager will be a decisive leader who conveys an era of professionalism, offers proactive choices to forecasted issues rather than reactive positions to problems. Are they approachable, relate to many types of people, a person who enjoys reaching out to others, a good listener, patient, accepting, capable of seeing many sides to an issue, self-confident, able to express and communicate a vision, calm and collected, creative, possessing an internal sense of personal accountability.
I tell you what, I think we have an opportunity as a council to select someone new and different to establish direction for the city, or select some more of the same that we've had in the past. I would give Ryan a 10. I think he's simply the most approachable. People commented that when they asked him questions, he asked questions back to understand exactly what they were saying or a different point of view. I think he's capable of seeing a lot of things, and he is certainly self-confident and engaging and calm. I would just see him as a leader that would represent the city very well.
Okay.
I concur. I think if I look at all those bullets underneath that, he knocked it out of the park on every one of them. He was the most succinct in his answers, the most deliberate in his answers, almost like he had it rehearsed, but I know he didn't because he didn't have the questions prior to that. I think he did a phenomenal job of proving to me all of those competencies underneath that section. I'd put him at a 9 for sure. I mean, in my opinion, he did an exceptional job.
Seeing how there's no 10s, unless it's Bo Derek, I would rate Ryan an 8. He has immense talent and immense qualities that we could be proud of to be our city manager.
I go with an 8. I think he's approachable. He's definitely a good listener. The people I talked to last night think he's a good listener. Ask good questions. He's always calm and collective. Seems to rush his answers. And I believe he's creative. I believe he's going to be a real positive influence on the city.
6.
Any thoughts on that?
Do I have to? I'm not impressed. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. I don't have to, like everybody that impressed.
No.
So I'm not going to give you 6.
I was just wondering if there was anything in specific.
No.
As far as that, I think it was approachable. I think he's self-confident. He is capable of seeing many sides. He is calm. But I still think he's really rough around the edges in his presentation skills, some of his big ability to, I think, talk to various groups. Not that I don't think he'd shy away from that, but I think he needs to polish up some of that presentation of it more, and that's, I'm giving him a 7 on that. While he's really, I think, good in some areas, I still think he needs some polishing in some of these areas. So that's why I'm giving him a 7 on that. So now if we look at the other candidate.
Patrick Jordan.
Patrick. We kind of grade him against those same. Patrick, he's our candidate from Alaska.
Yes.
Various areas of positions, starting off at correction officers, working all the way up to assistant city manager, wanting to come back to our area, to be near family and just get back to Michigan. So if we go back and look at a candidate who demonstrates superior interpersonal written communication, talent with a strong sense of personal integrity. Again, as Kathy pointed out, they meet all our qualifications, such as degrees and experience. So looking down at expertise in history, developing and managing governmental, personal, human resource policies and procedures, labor negotiations, the aggressive economic development with ability to offer innovation solutions to existing situations.
I give him an 8. I mean, I thought he was strong. I thought his abilities in all of those areas were strong. I think his ties to Michigan are great. I think my only concern for him was a little bit of job jumping for the last 10 years. And is Manistee going to be the right fit for his family and himself? And that would be my only concern. And it seems like the last few years he's moved around a lot. So, but I liked him. I think I'd give him a strong 8 in the expertise in history area.
I would also grade an 8. I feel he's a very strong candidate. I agree with Councilman Gus, his job jumping, but if you get down to the nuts and bolts that Muskegon to Texas, and then Texas to Alaska, looking out for his family, for his health of his wife, taking that position.
So you guys remember that?
I grade him 6.
Okay. Thoughts you want to share on that?
Well, I think the job changes, tendency toward the remote locations. I think he's in a place right now where financials are abundant for wealth of projects. And it's a matter of what can I spend all this money on, as opposed to what money do we have to spend on projects here. So I just see that in his background where he's managed, but it's a very different situation than we have here in this community.
You may, the issue was the job jumping. I mean, he's every 3 years, he seemed, for a while there, seemed like, but besides that, I think he has, excuse me.
I give him 7. Job jumping don't bother me so much. I think he's looking for a niche. He definitely has experience. The unlimited expense account that he had in the last what bothers me, he talked about, not bothers me, but wondering how he's always going to adapt to the limited available money to spend. Jerry said they actually have a savings account. They can't spend all the money that they get. So, can you make that transition? I think he has good organizational skills, and he's had some experience with tribal government, so.
I also think he's got a good wealth of history as far as the different personnel, human resources. He's actually been involved with the police end of a municipality, records manager. He's got experience there. So he really has a high level of experience that we would be looking for. Didn't see a whole lot of economic development. I think he's got a lot of experience in there. I like the fact that he was traveling to his state capital in Washington D.C. to fight for his local economy. So he knows how to do those, how to make those contacts and what needs to be done. I didn't see a lot of innovative solutions from him, so that's why I would rate him an 8. But I think he's strong in some of the other areas. And I will go back to the first one as far as qualifications, because we did rate the first candidate as far as how we felt, you know, either have the degree and the expertise and the educational. So we did rate Ryan, so I think it's only fair that we go back and rate Patrick as well on that first. We feel he's got that level of education and experience, and a combination to be a leader. First. Patrick. We're going back to the first one to consider, because we did rate Ryan, so it's my,
I didn't catch Ryan right now.
and the first one? Oh, I had 7, 8, 5, 7, 8, 8.
5, 7,
8, 8.
I gave it 6.
Oh, I thought that was. Did you think we were doing the first part or the second part?
I thought the second part, I knew you skipped the first part, and we established that, but, you know, he's an 8 in that area too, in my opinion, so.
Okay.
8.
I'll be asking for you number 2. I'll be asking number 2 of you.
Hey,
For the first one? Okay.
Master's degree, 8, yeah.
And I'll give him a 9 because I think he's got the degrees and the experience. I think he's a very strong candidate in that area. And Mayor Pro Tem Smith had rated a 6 for that area, and so now we need to go back and get your views on the second one that qualified.
For second?
Yeah.
Isolated communities, doesn't provide a lot of opportunity for collaboration with neighboring areas and such. They're pouring money into state-funded economic development, but I don't see anything where they're bringing something in or attracting to fill vacancies.
He did talk about his collaboration down in Muskegon, you know, working with the county.
The water war.
So there was that collaboration there.
But your rating or your rating, I won't rate yours,
Well, I
don't
just-
rate your rating, so.
Sometimes you forget.
Yes,
that
I
you
agree,
brought that
I
up,
agree,
So
yeah,
I just
I-
wanted to make sure of
So
that.
we come up with 5 8s and a 6.
Well, Mayor Pro Tem Smith has not rated yet.
He originally had a 6, but he thought we were on the first one,
First
not the
one,
second,
okay.
so. We're on
Thank you.
at 6, so we rated 6 in both areas. Okay. Did you follow us?
You know, I'm not sure.
Okay. On the first one, on
So
the
you're talking-
qualifications, we
Okay.
have a.
8, 8, 6, 8, 7, 8.
Nope, that would be for number 2. For qualifications, we have a 6, an 8, 8, 8, and 9.
Okay. do it for me, or when you say,
That's the first section.
There, as far as their qualifications.
okay. So tell me the numbers again.
6, 8, 8, 8, 8, and 9. And then the numbers 8, 8, 6, 8, 7, 8 are for the second.
Okay. Got it.
You can always look at going down to looking at whether the candidate will be financially savvy, well-versed in the use of technology as a presentation, communication, and analytical tool. Things we're looking at are their history in forging regional collaborations and/or agreements, proven negotiation skills, and success in developing win-win solutions, ability to incite and healthy dialogue among diverse partners and achieve consensus around best possible solutions, experience in building well-working teams, highly developed organizational skills, and familiarity with tribal governments would be a weighted plus. Would you like to go first?
I'll go 7.5.
Okay.
Come on.
8.
8. All right.
Technology, he flat out told you, not my stronghold. You know, that was, but obviously, you can't, like I said, you can't do no development up there without dealing with the tribal men. So in that aspect, you gotta have it. He has that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Anybody else?
I would go with a 7, based on when we ask him about technology, he's not afraid, but he's not a wizard with it either. I don't see him as a strong user or promoter of technology to inform people or to produce efficiencies.
Okay.
So,
A 7. Okay. Any thoughts there?
no, I just decided.
No thoughts. Okay.
7.95? Is that?
That's
I got holler for that.
I know you did. I would rate an 8. Strong tribal negotiations, collaboration. He hits the highs.
I'm a 7.
Okay. Any insight?
You know, there are some definite pluses for him there. I think there's a lot of positives, but I don't know, I just felt like there's something missing with some of those key components that are there. Maybe I wanted more in-depth examples from him, but I just felt like that wasn't all of his strengths there, so.
Looking at, yes, does he have regional collaboration? I think he's got a lot of that with his tenature down in Muskegon. And I think he does have a lot of that up there in Alaska, working with the tribal up there. Negotiation skills and developing win-win solutions. I think he's the type of individual that he came across to me as trying to find that. Almost, he seemed like very easy to talk to, like he'd be able to go into any arena and be able to talk to anybody in there and try and calmly negotiate the situation. Highly developed organizational skills. I'm not sure that we got a lot of information on that. Tribal governments, so we said that would be a weighted plus. I think he has that. Building well-working teams. I think down in Texas, when they took on the information records, I think that was a huge deal. And if you know, trying to get the public going, trying to get their records, that can be a very tedious and very outspoken situation at times, I think. But he was able to build that up. So I would give him, probably in that area, probably an 8 as well.
Probably, or?
An 8.
Okay.
Okay, city manager, the decisive leader, conveys an air of professionalism, offers proactive choices for forecasted issues rather than reactive positions to problems. Are they approachable? Can they relate to many types of people? Good listener, patient, accepting, capable of seeing many sides to an issue, self-confident, able to express and communicate a vision, calm, collected, creative, and possessing an internal sense of personal accountability.
Right. Me again?
Oh,
Okay.
anybody who wants to.
There's 2 cards that were turned in, and both of them have 2 check marks on them and absolutely no comments. I was surprised, most of the folks that came in shook hands with people before they started the interview. He did not. I would say, with my observations, he's not a very articulate or enthusiastic speaker. I found him quiet and reserved. And I'm looking for an enthusiastic person, someone who wants to stand out and represent and such. So when he talked about time outside of work, and I understand having family, but family primarily, nothing about volunteering or other areas. I'm a 6.
Okay.
I believe he is very self-confident, very calm and collected. He realized what he said was a mistake in the paper, but you couldn't take that stuff back, so he knew what he did wrong. He's definitely capable of seeing many sides and issues. I would, very comfortable with giving him an 8.
Okay.
I'll go with that.
6. I wasn't really clear when I listened to him about his vision. I believe he's competent. I believe we could have some creativity there. He seemed to be a good listener. He didn't really look me in the eye when he talked to me, and I asked him questions, which was a concern for me. But I believe he's approachable. I don't know. That's it.
I'm up.
You're up.
I give him an 8 in that area. I do believe he had a strong grasp on what we were looking for. I liked his answers about, what, even over just a cursory review, what are, some of the issues that we're facing. We understood roads and services, and we have a limited budget, and he was familiar with the theater issues, there's historical significance to those things. I liked some of his answers regarding, how we solve those solutions. So I'd give him an 8 in this section.
As I said, I thought he was approachable. I think he can walk into a group of room or sit down and try and come to a solution on many issues. Communicate a vision, I would have to agree. I didn't see a lot of examples of that, whether we just didn't ask the right questions. He is very calm, creative. Not sure how creative he is, but I do think he does work towards solutions. And I think he does have personal accountability. I would also rate him kind of an 8 in this area as well. So our last candidate would be Kevin. And looking back again at the qualifications, the degrees, the experience, read it back
The other one.
Huh? An NA, a bachelor's. See, that's what it is, Japanese language
Wow.
course.
Well, something good here.
Anybody wanna,
No.
no, Kevin, our last candidate from Missouri?
I mean, just mash up qualifications, the top one. He's got a master's, 9 years, 9 years experience as a city manager, combination of both education and professional and government leadership. I gotta give him pretty much a 9. I mean, he's got all the components that we identified in that,
Yeah.
that category anyways.
Yeah.
Education and experience, I would also do a 9.
Okay.
I would go 8. You know, I think he's got experience and all that, but I look at some of the reaction cards and such, and to be honest with you, I would be hard pressed to vote for this candidate. Sure. So,
But we're looking right now at the
I know,
education
I know, we're
and
looking
the
at,
experience.
I'm just telling you up front.
Okay,
9.
okay.
8.
8. I would rate him actually a 10 because he does have the business degree. He is the experience, he is the only one that's had city manager experience. If we're looking at experience and the degrees, this guy's got it.
Agree.
Huh?
No, let's keep it, I agree.
So the next area is applicant possess expertise or history, developing, and managing governmental personnel, human resources, policies, procedures, labor negotiations, aggressive economic development with ability to offer innovation solutions.
Where it gigs him is there's no unions. And he said, so looking for labor negotiations and the fact that he's never had any type of, managing government. I give him a 9.
I give him a 6, and the reason why is part of it was the no union, but he also, from an economic development standpoint, admitted that he doesn't have any background in new economic development. It was all redevelopment. So strategizing on how to bring new businesses into town, he didn't really have any expertise in that. They were landlocked and fully developed, and then everything had to come from a redevelopment strategy. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing, but that doesn't give them the experience that are identified in aggressive economic development. So, and again, I think there were some areas where he didn't hit a home run for me, so I'm going to give him a 6 in that one.
Doesn't have the union, dealing with unions. The city that he was in, not having any water or sewage. Economic development is a key. I think the only thing that I heard is the great streets. I would give him a 7.
Okay.
What's a 6, yeah.
I would give him a 6. And I agree with Eric. Part of Well, the reason for his termination was over a development plan and a big reef there, and most of his experience is in redevelopment because they're landlocked and don't have any place to expand to. That's a concern. Can't let one person's life for dual union experience and being a living for at the same time.
Okay.
6,
Okay.
I think labor negotiations is really important, I need that skill. And I agree with Eric, I think there's some lack of some new development there. A lot of redevelopment.
See, my thought process was probably the complete opposite of yours. We're also landlocked. We really do need a lot of redevelopment in some of our older buildings and some ideas there. So I thought that experience actually lined up to what we had. So that was where I differ with you guys on that thought. As far as negotiating skills, he may not have worked with unions, but he did hire quite a few within his department. They're still there, they're highly thought of. He is actually very proud of the quality of people that he's hired. He has negotiated contracts per se with the places that he's worked. Yeah, he has not worked with a tribal government. He didn't like the fact that the reason he was fired was over development. The sense I got from that was probably that's where the council was heading, and like he says, the council sets the policy and the direction. So I'm not holding that so much against him. That's the reason that they got rid of him. So I kind of rated him an 8 because I think as far as looking at development and managing government personnel, he doesn't have any history. He made it 8 years where his 4 previous predecessors didn't even make that long time. So there's probably something there that he wasn't get too hard of. I think that speaks a lot for a manager. I mean, we even say here that 5 to 7 years of a city manager, that's about the average life. He made it 8. So I think he had to do some things really well there. So, and that's kind of why I'm giving him an 8 in that area. All right, now we move on to the level, I'm sorry.
I think Chip.
I'm, oh, you go.
Bishop Bell's first. 9.
I'm sorry.
Moving on to the level candidate, looking at their use of technology, presentation, communication, analytical tools, history and forging regional collaborations and agreements, negotiation skills, developing win-win, ability to incite healthy dialogue among diverse partners and achieve consensus around best possible solutions, experience in building well-working teams, highly developed organizational skills, and familiarity with tribal governments. How do we feel? We're kind of stacked up against those type of criteria.
I liked some of his collaboration ideas. I mean, they worked with the Aquatic Center on, two different communities to come together. We also had the background with the water, was it something else that he had what was the other one that he collaborated on? So the five communities. Let's see. Oh, the co-op and purchasing for salt. Let's see. And then we thought, the Great Streets Plan on the 5 different municipalities. So on 3 different levels with 3 different projects, 3 different significant projects, he found consensus with multiple different municipalities and organizations. I thought that was a strong piece because we're in the same boat with we can't operate on an island here in that respect. So I thought those were you found win-win solutions in a lot of those areas. And I thought that was, a big asset for them there. I'd rate them at probably an 8 in this category.
I liked what he did with collaboration, working sometimes in a hostile environment, being professional, along with the building a process with the aquatic center, finding a way to bring that back into play for the community. I would give him an 8.
I would give him a 7.
Eight.
8. And I agree with a lot of what you guys said as far as the collaboration and trying to come up with workable solutions. I think he was someone that works towards that, and yeah, he doesn't have experience with the tribal governments, but I think he's organized. So I also rate him an 8 in this program. Moving on to the last area, be a decisive leader who conveys an air of professionalism, offers proactive choices to forecasted issues rather than reactive positions to problems. Are they approachable? Do they relate to main types of people? Enjoy reaching out to others? Good listener, patient, accepting. People listening many sides to an issue, self-confident, able to express and communicate vision. Calm and collected, creative, and possessing an internal sense of personal confidence.
I give you a 7.
He's very self-confident, soft-spoken, organized. I like the fact that he brought us questions. I would give him a 9.
I'll go 9. Floored me, really liked the approach when he came and asked us. That took, to me, that raised the whole bar. The fact that he took this seriously. He wants to tackle this.
8. I appreciate his openness, being upfront.
Honesty.
I think he's calm and collected. He has potential being very creative. And I think he's approachable.
I like their creative solution for the aquatic center for funding. Looking for opportunities, and when he kicked it to the public answered with a resounding yes. 70% voted to fund that. I thought that was a creative way, instead of just trying to scramble and cut budgets here, maybe cut staff here. I thought that was very creative, and look for other solutions to help fund an asset that the community clearly wanted to retain. I thought that was a neat thing. My struggle with this candidate was, maybe it's just me because I'm much more expressive and it's much more, maybe flamboyant. I don't know what you want to call it, but he was very stoic. He was just very flat for me, and I struggle with that a little bit because I think that's part of an approachability, and that's a part of people feeling comfortable coming to you, and then he seemed just, again, was very flat about it. I love his honesty about the situation where he was let go. I like that he took personal accountability for that, and he was very calm. But again, I just struggled with his very, very flat demeanor, and I do think we want somebody that's engaging. We want somebody that's going to, look for people and pull ideas out of people, and I didn't get that sense from him. So in my opinion, on this level, I'd probably rate him a 7.
Looking at these attributes here, I do believe he was self-confident. I think he is calm. Pointed out that, he did try to, when a lot of things were going on at the city council level, when it got apparently, late, that he tried to make sure that his staff didn't feel a lot of that, which I think speaks well, and that he still had a good relationship with them. Probably a very difficult thing to go through. I think that he can be creative. I do agree. I don't think he's that, at least he didn't present himself last night or today as that very outgoing self. But I think he would be approachable, certainly, to talk about going into businesses and talking to people. So I would rate him an 8 overall on that. So
Just before we start averaging them, but the first candidate you talked about was Mr. Heiss. And in terms of education and experience, his overall average was 7.2. In terms of HR and innovation, it was 7.2. In terms of that group of things around technology and collaboration and working with others, was 5.8. And in terms of his personality match, was 8. And so the overall average there was 7.05. Mr. Jordan, education and experience, the average was 7.5. In terms of HR and innovation, 7.8. In technology and collaboration, 7.5. And in terms of his personality match, about 7.3. And the overall average was 7.5. When you move to Mr. Bookout, education and experience, 8.83, or 8.8, sorry, scribbliness. HR and innovation, 7. Technology and collaboration, 7.8. And personality fit, 8. So his overall average was about 7.9. So you don't have even a full point to sort of separate those.
There are good candidates. And again, those are by the numbers.
Those are just by the numbers, right?
It's said not by any accountants. As far as this council, I'm still thinking we can forge through that tonight. Is there any more information you'd like to get on these candidates? Or do we like to think about it? Are you ready to make, having gone through that process, are you have in your mind one candidate over others at this point? Or are you ready to at least narrow it down?
I'm happy with my decision. If the council wants to take a day off, okay, but I don't think we need to.
You're ready to make a
I'm ready to
decision?
make a decision.
Okay.
Because, we're going to offer somebody a contract that the money we take accept,
Is there a candidate that anybody's willing to take off the table? It's just-
No, I really like how, if I had to choose between the 3 right now, I'd pick Patrick Jordan.
Okay. Do you have a candidate?
I would pick Patrick.
Lieutenant,
I How about that, Pat?
You know, I'd be really good with Patrick. He was he was my top one.
I have no problem, Patrick.
Well, is he your top? What?
Yes. Patrick.
And I have no problem with Patrick, but I guess out of the candidates, Kevin would be my first choice. Out of the candidates, just because of the experience that he has.
I can step into that too.
But I like Patrick as well, and I think he would do just as well. So are you ready to make a decision here, or ready to move forward with a motion?
Do you want us to take? Okay. I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah, I'm fine if there's a straw poll that we make a motion to make a preliminary offer to Patrick Jordan. I would support that.
So when we can motion? We got, I mean, it's got, you want to review, here, I got to go down. She wants
Is
to-
that what we have
You
to
can
say?
do the motion. I mean, but just,
Go ahead and read it. I don't have to make it, but all right.
direct the,
Direct the MML, I make a motion to direct the MML to extend a conditional offer to the employment, or of the employment to Patrick Jordan, contingent upon successful completion of further due diligence.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Councilmember Gustad, supported by Councilmember Goodspeed, to go ahead and make a conditional offer to Patrick Jordan. Do you have any more discussion on this? Anybody want to, if not, Michelle, can you please take the roll?
Councilmember Zelinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitla?
Yes.
Councilmember Gustad?
Yes.
And Mayor Kenny?
Yes.
Motion approved.
I believe we have another motion.
You have
Oh,
two.
somebody else want to make a motion?
All right. I make a motion to direct the Michigan Municipal League to initiate background investigation and additional reference checks on the candidate.
Second.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Smith, second by Councilmember Whitliff, to go ahead and direct the MML to initiate background investigation and additional references.
I do have discussion on that one.
Okay.
If those come back, or do we see the results of those, or they just come back positive or negative? What's the nature of that?
Right now, I'm assuming I'm doing reference checks for you.
Yes.
He directed you.
I will make a summary, just sort of like I did in that screening report, of whom I talked with and what they say. And you'll get that, all my notes. The background investigation is generally a pass or fail. The report is extremely lengthy and includes information that is protected under the Red Flag Act, so it can't be released to you. If I have need to discuss it with someone, if there's something in there that I think needs additional discussion, I'll talk to your city attorney first, and we'll figure out how to work through that. But if there's nothing of interest, you'll get a pass or fail from me.
Any other? Michelle, can you please take the roll?
Councilmember Gustad?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitla?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Zelinski?
Yes.
And Mayor Kenny?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to direct the city attorney to initiate a contract discussions with, after an ML does their background check, investigation, and reference.
I would suggest that.
Now, before?
Yeah, you can begin those
Do it now, okay.
discussions
Then
because
take out the other stuff and just, I
As long as
would
he
make a
accepts.
motion to direct the city attorney to initiate contract discussions.
Perfect.
Second.
The motion by Councilmember Goodspeed, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Smith, to go direct the city attorney to initiate contract discussions. Is there any further discussion?
I do have discussion on that as well. if a settlement for salary cannot be reached, what's the mechanism by which we'll get notified? And
The attorney will probably come to you and say, we can't come to a settlement. And then I'm going to assume that you may at that point in time want to consider either Mr. Heiss or Mr. Bookout.
I would add something. I think before that happened, there would be a discussion with council on what the sticking points are,
Yes, sir.
so that you can weigh in, yeah, we are willing to do that, or no, that really is a deal breaker.
okay.
Any other discussion? Michelle, can you please take the roll?
Councilmember Goodspeed?
Yes.
Councilmember Zelinski?
Yes.
Mayor Kenny?
Yes.
Councilmember Whitlock?
Yes.
Councilmember Gustet?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. And I just want to take this time to thank you, Kathy. You have made this a great process for us to go through. I don't think we could have done as good a job as we've done. And you made it easy. You made it as fun as it could be. I really enjoyed working with you, and so thank you for getting us to this point.
You did well. You were very thoughtful and committed. You involved your community, I hope, gives you all the possible credit you deserve for the kind of effort and seriousness you put into this process. It was good working with you all.
Now we'll take any citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to comment on municipal services. A limited 5 minutes. Yes.
Alan Marshall, 914 Vine Street. As a taxpayer in the city of Manistee, I appreciate your efforts and your patience and your interview process, and I trust your judgment, so thank you. As a county commissioner who represents the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th district of the city, I appreciate your patience. I trust your judgment, and I thank you again very much. So thank you for all the work that you did in the MML, Kathy, and thank you, Ben, as interim city manager. So thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yes, Gary Petzolski, 159 Quincy Street, Summer resident. I also want to thank the council for having given the opportunity of the residents to attend yesterday's meet and greet and the meetings today. It was a great opportunity to see how everything works. A couple observations, okay? If you look at how you graded the individuals, it's exactly in reverse order of who was the last person who was interviewed. There's an old saying, that the longer the older the information, the more you're going to forget. So the last person who interviewed was your highest candidate. The second to last was your second highest. Your third to your last was your third highest. And then you got rid of the ones over your fourth and fifth. That's just an observation. So you may want to just, think that through. The second thing is that I think Manistee really had a chance to change. We had a candidate that would have driven a lot of change, and that probably would have been Brian. I also realized he did not have the experience for a city manager. But the question was, and I had hoped that maybe there would have been a little participation from the audience before you went into your voting, because I had really two comments. One was, is the city of Manistee ready to start this process over again in case something does fall through with negotiations and you lose the first candidate and obviously the second and third, whatever, is now not interested because they weren't the first person, okay? That was number one. The second thing I had a question, I was going to question you guys, is that what are you looking for in Manistee, Michigan? Are you looking for change? Are you looking for the same old, continue down the path? Okay, and I have nothing wrong about Jordan. I have nothing saying that he's not the right person, but he's going to continue down the same path. He made that very clear with some of his answers. Well, you guys have everything in place. We just need to keep going down the path. So those are the two questions I wish I could have asked before you guys made your voting. And that's my observation is the same old, what do you remember the most is always the last that you remember the most. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Let's move on to officials and staff. City clerk,
Nothing, Your Honor.
in terms of city manager.
Nothing, ma'am.
I guess is city attorney still back there?
Nothing, Your Honor, thank you.
Finance director,
Nothing, Your Honor.
DPW.
I wouldn't dare.
Councilmember Zelinski,
Nothing, Your Honor.
Councilmember Goodspeed.
Thank you, thank you, and thank you. Thanks everybody for doing this. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Thanks to Cindy for the wonderful folders and organization of information and her many emails and forwarding of data. So we have an opportunity to review and study these issues long before the meeting today. Thanks to Kathy for the wonderful job she's done. Thanks to Ben for the interim manager duties. Thanks to Michelle for being a wonderful city clerk.
I want to thank the council for hard work in this tedious process. Kathy for directing us, steering us in the right direction. City staff for doing a wonderful job with the meeting and putting together this forum. Thank you.
Councilmember Vista.
Yeah, and I would throw out kudos to all the staff again. Cindy did a great job and sometimes gets overlooked with all her efforts, and I want to make sure she gets recognized. I also want to just remind and thank the audience for their participation and comments tonight. I do think that change doesn't necessarily happen in the city manager's role. Change happens at this level. And if we want to set new direction for the city, that's got to come from our creative process and not necessarily specifically from the city manager. I do think that person helps facilitates that change. But if we want to see change, that gets to come from this team right here. So let's think about that and take that feedback from the audience wholeheartedly and look for that change that we want to see. So
Again, I want to thank everybody, the audience and staff. And again, Kathy, I can't thank you enough for this process. I think you did a great job leading us through this. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Go on.